Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 29th. Man, I feel silly already. Well, you know what, my monitor, the cord on this monitor, I don't know what I did, but it's like shot from that monitor just turned off, and that's distracting me. Also, I forgot to put get the SD card back from my dad after using it this weekend. So the camera is going to say that there's no card in there all day. But you know what? It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just ignore that. Just ignore that. Well, we're going to have to fix the monitor first. Hold on. Gosh. Yeah, this is going to take a second. Man. This card has just gone completely out on me. I have to order a new one. Will the S&P and NASDAQ bounce today? I don't know, dude. It means that the SD card is not in the camera at the moment. I didn't realize it was going to do that if I turned it on without it. And I don't have it here. Well, the stream is just all sorts of messed up today. So this monitor here, it I think I bent the power cable on it, and so it was doing okay, and I had it and it was fine, and I thought, oh, I don't have to worry about it. And now it's like turning off, and it's almost like it doesn't matter which way I jiggle the cord around. I won't. You ever get that, you know? So that's where we're at right now. Oh man, my back. All right. But the thing is all my charts are on the third window, right? Let's see if it'll show it. Oh, hey, it'll show it to me anyways. Ah, that's funny. Because it's pretending like it can see them. Well, long story short, the S&P 500 opened lower for the week and then kind of did a little bounce. Like as it has been doing quite consistently now. And yeah. I guess that's the long and short of it. So there is some economic news today, right? Dallas Fed manufacturing index, pending home sales. There's actually quite a bit of news this week. Coming into the beginning of the month again. Today we'll probably continue to see end of month rebalancing though. Is it today the last week or is there is another day. So today and tomorrow probably we'll see some end of month flows. That may continue to cause selling in the E-mini. And buying from the treasuries, but yeah. I don't know, like I don't actually need my charts, but I kind of feel blind at the moment. I'm gonna try and fix it. Okay. Is that a tiny Yoda under the artist utensil? Yes, it is. So it's time to install the latest Windows updates. Snooze. God damn it. I fixed it. And then it went away. Okay. Hopefully it stays that way. We're going to have to look for the right kind of power converter for this. Let's see here. Man. It's either that or a new monitor. I guess I could look out there and see what we got. So you know what's another thing that's going on is that I've got I got a new mat. I got a new mat for my well, I never had a mat. It was just digging into the floor. You know how I'd always get this thing where I have to I want to get in close and I have to get the wheels to go into the right dent in the floor and everything like that. So I went and I got a nice um it's like a big piece of glass that's strong enough for you to put your chair on. Is what it is. It's a big piece of glass. So that there's no chance you have any dents or any of those kind of problems, right? And I feel a little unbalanced. I feel a little unbalanced. So because it's like I got nice wheels for it too, so it doesn't just stay. That makes sense. Anyways, it's like first world problems. It's like, oh, I got this. This is nice, but now kind of don't like it because I feel like I have to hold myself in place. Probably I'm a little higher as well, so I had to bring my chair down a bit.
Winston's mom says breathable glass or plexiglass. Acrylic?
No, I think it's like what is the word? Tempered glass. I think it's a tempered glass. It's a sheet of tempered glass. I got one that was just big enough because I'm like, I don't plan on moving around a whole lot with it. But I probably yeah. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. Let me just come back over here now that I got this all up. Let's just make sure I didn't miss anything over here in context.
Fitz son says, how did airlines go up? I thought that the EU was going to ban US travel.
I would just ignore what individual stocks are doing right now, man. They're going to do all sorts of crazy stuff because the people that are trading them right now have no fucking clue what they're doing. Okay, so here you can see the E-mini. They opened up a little bit lower. They've recovered it. There's still, I mean, I'm sure, I think there's a pretty high probability we see 3,000 at some point today. If we don't, I'll be really shocked. 10-year. Okay, so on Friday, they moved up pretty good on Friday, and we're holding it here in the treasuries. Let's see here. Gold, I think, gold is like all over the place, man. Right? They were like selling off, and then they bought it back up a little bit higher, but then it didn't get too much higher, and now they're pulling back again. And what about oil? Oil, kind of a similar story. Opened lower, came back up higher by a whole dollar, huh? So they're still very volatile. And let's see here. Currencies. Again, on Friday, we saw a pretty good rise in the dollar. Since then, some dollar weakness coming in, mostly from the euro area, it looks like. And the E-mini is selling off pretty good. So I'm not trading today, especially now that I've had all sorts of crazy stuff. But I think if I was, my what is the word? My default case would be to sell at least to the 3,000. Okay, let's search for maybe there's a good 27-inch monitor out there. $240 monitor. 4K monitor. That would be cool. Well, I would need one. that had 3K. Oh, that one's a 1080, for instance. There's not a whole lot of them out there, actually. Certainly not any good deals. Almost all over $200. Saw this one the other day. There was 2 monitors that would have fit for like $300. Should have done it. Should have done it. Okay. So next thing is, let's just see what a new, how much new power bar for this is.
Uzi Knesset says no card in camera.
Yep, I know. I know, guys. That doesn't help either. Oh, here it is. I'm looking for what kind of monitor it is. QX2710 LED. Yes. Power supply. Oh, look at that. Google's been spying on us because it knows. It gives me the recommendation. $22. Probably I want one that's extra long, though. See this one. Oh, it says currently unavailable. I was like, doesn't say how long it is. This one is available, but how long is it? Technical details. Oh, it doesn't say. We'll have to think about that. Let's text them. So what happened was we recorded the funeral, and then I didn't take my card back. So I figured that it would be okay. They didn't really need it. Oh my gosh, guys. I feel like overall frustrated now for no reason really. I mean, like everything's fine now, right? But my chair, it's going to take a bit to get used to this chair because it just doesn't feel stable. See, if I like really relax, I'm moving. Can you see I'm moving? It's so easy to move this chair. I think I made a mistake. Well, I kept the other wheels. I could just switch the wheels back to the not as nice ones. Still. Oh man. I don't know how I feel about this. Hmm. You guys are probably sitting over there like, what the hell is wrong with him?
E-Trader says, hey guys. Uzi Knesset says I've started looking at price action in zero-line format that measures gross, net change and standard deviations up and down per bar. The results have been interesting.
So, you know what? Let's talk about price action. Because I suppose price action is an interesting theory. The general theory behind price action, as I understand it, is most of the time you can't really predict where it's going to go, but there are certain situations in which buyers or sellers have a clear advantage, and so you can run with the momentum. Okay. So just from a theoretical standpoint, there's an issue with this, and that is that how do you know early enough that that is what is happening to get in on that, right? Because if you have an edge that tells you that imbalance is starting to occur, then everybody else is going to get in on it too, and they're going to arbitrage the inefficiency out by causing the market to move up before you can get in. Okay. So that's where I would start. Okay, it's just I don't think that the theory behind it has a whole lot of legs. Let's say. Okay. And so then you get
Uzi
into
Knesset says, well, instead of viewing price action in its entirety, I'm just looking at net change per bar.
Okay, so you mean like the range of the bar, or the change from the open of the bar? Anyways.
E-Trader says I'm using Renko. It is really helpful.
Okay. So anyways, then you got when I go on the forums, I'm just telling you guys. Look, I'm not a fan of technical analysis.
Uzi Knesset says yes. Range change. Historical standard deviations 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Well, when you're using standard deviation, that can be used. I'll explain how in a second. When I go on, like, especially
Uzi Knesset
YouTube,
says I had to program it myself, but you'd be surprised.
Okay. When you go on Facebook and you see what strategy they're using, so common. Price action is so common. I thought maybe it's because I'm just in this world, like order flow trading, right? Order flow trading, I thought, well, it's kind of hard to even find an edge with order flow trading because there's just too many people doing it. And you know what? There is a lot of people doing it, but when you look at the percentage of retail traders, even within futures that are even using order flow, it's ridiculously low. It's like 5%. I bet you it would be like 5%. It's really bad. Price action, though, I bet you it's like 20 or 30%. It is far and away the most popular method of trading that I see out there. And I think it's total bullshit. If you go like tradingschools.org, this guy, Emmett, he would buy, he has plenty of money to do it with. He would buy different trading systems, rooms, all that sort of a stuff, and then do a review of it. So if
trader says order flow is difficult.
If you're looking to, for a review before you buy something, I would always check tradingschools.org first because they do a good job with this. And so I was like, oh, what about this Al Brooks guy? Because everybody talks about Al Brooks, and people were saying, oh, you should learn price action. I think we were talking about this like a month ago. It wasn't even a month ago where it was like, well, maybe I should learn more about price action. Right? So you go to the tradingschool.org review of it, and they hammer him so hard. They literally, the summary of it is Al Brooks is a charlatan. I was so shocked when I saw that. But when I started reading their review of it and kind of looking through things, I'm like,
oh my gosh. I've been doing this in concert with the order flow.
Yeah, I gotcha. I was like, oh my gosh. They're totally right. This guy has absolutely no evidence that he's ever traded or ever been successful with it. And the theories behind it, like the way that he describes when you're in his room and the way that he describes what's going on is like total nonsense. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's not reproducible. He's just saying stuff. And oh man, it like when I was reading myself, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like somebody's just spouting bullcrap. And it's incredibly, what is the word? Like the language and everything is really specific to what they're doing as well, which I think is kind of a problem. Like when you're using language to basically you're trying to keep people trapped into you because they can only see the markets from your perspective. That makes sense. So, man, I was surprised. And then this is like the most popular thing out there. So now my thing is like, I don't think that technical analysis is very reliable as a basis for your trading. And so now I'm like, well, let's take some of these down. Let's find some strategies that are pretty specific. I mean, the problem with the Al Brooks one is that he's kind of doing it in a way that you can't program a specific setup. But I will say that when you're looking at technical analysis, so the ability for the technical analysis to give you an edge, like I was saying, it doesn't work. I'm just telling you. I mean, like I at one point it would work, but then as soon as you find an inefficiency like that, that is it's self-destructing, right? You're gonna start taking it that you are taking it, and other people will find it too, and that will eliminate the inefficiency rather. So if you're going to have...
Gary Rich says, please shut this channel for the summer down. It's not fun anymore and I'm losing brain comprehension.
I'm just not having a good week. We had a funeral and all my stuff is breaking today and I haven't gotten into it yet. We're getting into it. All right. Hold on a second. I need to take a breath. Okay. When you're doing technical analysis, because your edge is based purely on technicals and frankly finding what could potentially be a completely random inefficiency in the market, the ability for the market to arbitrage that away is really, really easy. So any kind of technical signal that you can get It's like enough people are taking it, it's going to stop working. So if you're going to take an edge, there has to be a reason that that edge is going to continue to exist, right? So you're looking at technical analysis. Well, why does this potential edge exist? And if it's purely technical, which is like, like especially if it's, well, positioning is probably the best thing that you can get, right? Like this setup works because it suggests that people are offsides. Unfortunately, you can never get a signal that can completely tell you if people are offsides or not, because we just don't have enough information to calculate people's positions. Exactly. We can just kind of make educated guesses about what people's positions are, right? But these other things, it's kind of like, look, it can just disappear, right? Whereas if the inefficiency is something more fundamental to the markets, right? Like here's a piece of information that we have, and not everybody in the market has it, or not everybody that has that information is able to understand the significance of it or what it actually means, right? That's an inefficiency that's not just going to disappear, right? Or like with order, a lot of the inefficiencies that you can pick up with order flow, right? Like taking the edge. That is, what is the word? Hitting into a price as it clears, that's always going to have some edge because it has to do with the way that the exchange works, right? Now, of course, there's going to be a lot of competition for that edge as well. So those ones are really hard for a retail trader to take advantage of, right? But that's my take, is like there's got to be something about it that lets it maintain its edge. But here's the other thing, is if your edge is something that's fundamental to the market, like a piece of news, okay? We're looking at, what are the flows and where we're likely to go today just based off of the news. And I'd say that a visiting of 3,000 is pretty likely. If we were going to do that, then anything that would tell me that the price that I'm getting is unusually high for that time period is useful, right? Because I think it's going to go down. But if my indicator says that we're, high relative to the channel, for instance, like what we're getting right now, yep, we just crossed it. If you look at an average true range, and we just, we just crossed it right there. Can you see the little, I have this line that's kind of a dotted line that crosses, it turns pink and yellow, right? What that is saying is, what's the average true range for the moment? And then, here we've been going down. So we're going to say every time we go down, I'm going to trail a stop, but that stop is going to be equal to the average true range. So you can see here we hit a low and then it goes flat because we're coming back up. But then when we continue going down, it continues to trail with the average true range. And here it came back out, but it didn't close above that line. Okay. So we came down, and now, so this is like if you were trailing a stop and you trailed the stop by the average true range, when that line crosses and changes from pink to yellow, that your stop would have been triggered. Okay. So what does that tell us? If I wanted to go short, we are higher than on average. But the caveat is that now people are going along. People do have a reason to go along. So why are they going along? Right. So you kind of have to do your risk reward like that. But that's where I think technical analysis can be really useful. Right. You see, we've focused our technical analysis attention on the wrong things, I think, in many cases. Like a moving average is great. Okay. What does the moving average tell us? Well, if we take a trade in the direction of the moving average, then we're less likely to have ticks against us, essentially. Right? That's good. But the moving average doesn't mean that it has to go up or not, right? If I'm using a channel indicator, I wouldn't call this a channel indicator, but like Bollinger Bands, for instance, we're outside of the Bollinger Band, then that means that for that moment, we have moved higher than is normal, right? Good place to short it if you know that you really want to short it. But it doesn't mean that it has to turn around there or anything like that, right? So we should stop looking at technical analysis as a predictive indicator. We should be using it more as a statistical indicator to improve our entries. Just like we often look at order flow as a technical indicator to improve our entries, right? We look at where other people are getting in at and use that to try and give ourselves a little bit better of we can get a better, we know when there's a price that we might be able to get because it's been ranging around and you know how easily it moves around in that area. You know where the liquidity is so that you can try and get, where you're likely to get filled and where you're not likely to get filled. But I have had a difficult time finding a setup that in all markets is really effective, right? You know what kind of market it is, and then you can see potential setups. Although, another thing, I don't really see those in the E-mini. I haven't sat down and said, oh, here's an aberration in the level 2. We should test it out and see what the probabilities are and everything. We've done that for many things in the 10-year, and we still use a lot of that information, but not in the E-mini. Iran calls for Trump's arrest over brutal murder of Revolutionary Guard general. Okay, good luck with that. Anyways, so I'm wondering, Uzi, what was his indicator? He measures the gross/net change and standard deviations up and down per bar. Okay, so you have an indicator that says what is the high minus the open and what is the open minus the low, and then it takes that number and it plots it on a line to say what was this compared to the average range of a bar with a standard deviation so that you know if it's higher than the standard deviation. Basically candlesticks on a 0 line. Kind of like, what would be... It sounds to me like you're doing something to which there's probably another indicator that already exists. I'm trying to think what it would be, though. I think that you're doing something that certainly there are some other, like for instance, Bollinger Bands that are kind of like, look at ZB standard deviation 1 up on the 1 hour bar is 178.29. Oh, I see. So you're saying that if it was to move higher than 178.29, then it would be an unusual move. Yes, I know. Everybody that comes in is going to point out that the camera says no card in camera. I don't know. Maybe I have another SD card laying around somewhere, but I'm not going to wake my wife up to help me find it. So we're just going to deal with it. It's going to say it. I know. It's okay. Just deal with it. Now this is interesting. Igor is saying that he's making a web GUI for his tool that he uses to see statistical probabilities. He has things like, how does today tend to perform because it's this particular news event and stuff. That's interesting. See resistance at the standard deviation 1 for now. Yeah, I get that. Well, I mean, that's basically a Bollinger Band, though, right? Is it not? You're basically using Bollinger Bands. I think I can duplicate this. Let's see. There's a chart. ZB. We're going to do 60-minute bars. Default time frame. Okay, so here's what you got here. Now we're going to come in and we're going to add some Bollinger Bands. Oh, I made a super smooth Bollinger Band. Bollinger is by period, not by bar. Kind of. So what do you use as the average? That's the question, right? Because what it's doing is it's saying over this certain time frame. So for instance, from, well, what are we using? The last 14 bars. Okay, so let's talk about what the next one's going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So from here to here, okay, it's going to go through and it's going to say, how far does it move? So let's go look at the code. I designed this for scalping bars, not entire periods. Okay. So here, what it's doing is it's doing this standard deviation of the bar. Do I have the code for what stdev is? Yes. Okay. So what does the standard deviation of the bar is? The value of 0 equals 0 sum zeros. Oh, this is if it's the beginning. Okay. Input. Oh, I guess it is a little bit different here. Similar. They're very similar. I guess the standard deviation doesn't necessarily take into account the range of the bar. But you're still gonna get a band, right? Because that's what a Bollinger Band is it says this is the average price, and then here's one standard deviation above the average price and one standard deviation below the average price. Gross net up and down and applies standard deviations to up values and down values separately. Yep. So in your case, you're not using an average. The center line is just the open of that particular bar. So you're going to get something that's pretty... I'm going to try and program it now. Should we do that? It says yes. Oh, I'm not even have it auto reading stuff.
Gary Rich says one can say capitalism doesn't work, but we still do it. For someone who doesn't believe TA works, you sure have a lot of TA charts.
That's a good point.
Uzi Knesset says it's super easy to code lol.
I bet it is. So let me read you something. Did I download it? Let me find it. I didn't. I don't think I saved it. Or wait, maybe I saved it into trading documents. Hold on. Is it? Oh no, that was from Mr. Delib. I want to show you two things from this. Okay. So first thing is that I didn't save this. I need to save it in my collection of documents that I've found out there that are good for trading. Okay. I will just rename it. So I used to not have a whole lot of stuff on my charts. I used to only just like have volume profile. And then I started getting into the E-mini and trying some things that other people were trying different setups and things like that. And I learned a lot, and I kept, I've kind of been keeping those things on. And I could explain if we go over to the charts, for instance. Oh, oops. Where is it? Open that. Minimize this. Okay. So I'm noticing, okay, I have a longer moving average. I have a shorter moving average that is my super smooth. And then I have my ATR stop. And then I have an adaptive CCI, which I find to be pretty useful. Why do I use all these? Maybe I have a hard time seeing where the trend is on both the short term and the long term. So that's cool. This kind of I've found this to be like they're gonna break that. They break it a lot. But it's a useful thing to keep in mind, because it's like, you ever get in that trade where it's like they stop you out and then they turn around? Well, when I'm watching that, I know where most of the stops are. And so that kind of helps me see where that spot's going to be. So that's why I find that useful. And then there's the pivots. And the reason I like the pivots is because I found that they fight over the pivots. So I kind of know, okay, they're fighting over whether they're going to open, they're going to close above 30, 12, 75. Doesn't give me a probability or anything. It's just nice to know. If I could have all of this stuff, every bar, at the end of every bar, exported and put onto my NinjaTrader DOM, I would totally do it. I'm hoping that when they get charts in Jigsaw, that's a feature. That would be so cool. Okay. But I digress. What did I want to read to you? Let me find it. It'll take a little bit to find the exact quote that I want. This is from Gary Norden's little book about technical analysis. No, it was before that too. Mm-mm. thought it was in this chapter. Maybe it's in the chapter 4. Oh, man. I'm gonna have to go back and find it. I thought that I would be able to find it really quickly, and now I'm probably boring you guys. It was an interesting thought though. He was saying that the technical analysis doesn't exist because it works. He was essentially saying that technical analysis exists because people need to have something to simplify their decision making process. They want like a simple heuristic. So his suggestion was essentially he was saying that this whole thing that like you should have a system, and if X, Y, and Z is true, and then you take it, and that's the end of it, sort of a thing. Is that it's not helpful. It's actually counter. It hurts your trading, and that's why technical analysis exists, and not necessarily for any other reason. Where was it? Oh, realizing this book is a lot longer than I thought. Oh man, when he goes into the studies about some of the academic studies about the technical analysis, really make you go like, whoa. So let me show you the one that let's go into this other one, okay? Because I know exactly it's a short, and I know exactly the stuff that I want to show you in this. So this was one of the studies that Gary Norton mentions in his book. And the cool thing about this study, they were basically asking, does technical analysis work? How effective are people with it? And so they were able to get their hands on people's accounts, like this broker, and I think it was a stockbroker, but this broker basically gave like 4 years worth of all of their clients' transactions. So you could see exactly how effective all of these guys were trading. And then they went and they did a bunch of analysis on it by with the what do we say, adjusting for risk and things like that, right? So here they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, for everybody, their monthly gross returns were 0.004 with a deviation of 0.052, right? So then when they come down and they say, okay, here's how we decide what the performance is and all of these things. And then they kind of come in and they show, okay, so, and they had this study and they had another study that somebody did that was like much later. So what are they finding? People don't use fundamental analysis as much, right? So the LLS was like way bigger over here. There's a lot of people just using, quote unquote, their own intuition. But a lot of people are now using technical analysis, and technical analysis exclusively. and actually less people using fundamental and technical analysis together, which is kind of funny. Okay, so then we come down here, and they start saying, "Oh, well, that's portfolio concentration, turnover, factor loadings, risk." So here's one on a risk adjusted basis. So they're doing. They go through each of these, and they say, "Okay, so." Oh, this one was the net return. Was it with technical analysis? That's not even the one that's... Maybe it was the first chart that we were looking at. No, that's the first one. That's the explanations. Okay.
Uzi Knesset says pretty low risk, 5 to 6 ticks on that SD tongue out.
Yeah, is it still holding? So I think that this table is supposed to say how concentrated their portfolio was, and if you use technical analysis, they had a more concentrated portfolio. Okay, here they found if you were using fundamental analysis and you added technical analysis to it, your gross returns was actually less. The turnover, the technical guys, they have more turnover in their portfolio. Okay, momentum. So here with factor loadings, they're pointing out that you tend to do better when you have momentum. So how did they do? How effective were they?
Treasury_trader says tears of joy.
How effective were they at catching the momentum? And the only ones that was actually the intuition people. So here's a risk gross return, adjusted R squared Carhart. Okay, so this is saying when you adjust for risk, how effective are their gains compared to the average? The guys that use technical analysis, negative 0.024. And the guys that did fundamental analysis, 0.1. So the people that did fundamental analysis were doing better on a risk-adjusted basis than the people that use technical analysis. And this is just overall returns. This is the one that you want to look at. Technical analysis, overall return, negative 0.005. Fundamental analysis, 0.002. Now, this is a stock investing, not necessarily scalping futures, but can you see in this study, they're showing it actually hurt you to use technical, which is interesting because it seems to me like technical patterns are actually better on daily basis than they are on a short-term basis. And yet they're trading stocks. So it says that that's not the case. But they're also going in and they're doing a lot of things like what is your risk appetite? What is your experience? Things like that. And so a lot of it is also that they're finding that people that are doing technical analysis, they're doing it to speculate. They have a much higher risk appetite. They're not very experienced. And so what happens is you get these people, they come in, they're using technical analysis, and the technical analysis allows them to think that they know what's going on. And so they come in, they're overconfident, essentially. And so it's because of that risk appetite, I think, that causes the lesser returns. But the gist of it is that it doesn't give you an edge. Technical analysis on its own doesn't give an edge. Man, I want to find this quote now that he had in there. I thought it was so funny. One thing he does do in the book that I think people would have a problem with is that there's a little bit of scarecrowing in it. Like he'll say, "Okay, technical analysts believe X thing," and then he'll prove that that thing is wrong. And but it's like, well, not everybody believes that, and you don't necessarily have to believe that to do technical analysis, you know. So that's one thing where people I think would argue with it. Here's the open. Well, I can't find it. I thought it was in the behavioral finance spot, but he did a really good job of showing that technical analysis. One of the things that people will say is, why do so many people use it if it doesn't work? And he did a good job of showing that, like, the psychology of people is such that technical analysis is going to become a thing, even if it's not helpful. And so I'm like, even looking at it myself, I'm like, oh, okay, so I do all these things. I'm doing that because it's appealing to the psyche and not necessarily because it's effective. One can say capitalism doesn't work, but we still do it for some. One who doesn't believe TA works, you have a lot of TA charts. Well, I guess I should go back and I should also say I don't think that TA doesn't work completely. I think that it's limited utility. Okay, so there's their initial move down. I think that they're going to go for that 3,000.
Sunday Driver says TAR helps people find ins and outs in a short time frame. For that, it's helpful. For long term, not really. For example, I've done great with precious metals. TAR traders say no to gold.
So one of the things that I find weird is that when I'm having these discussions, especially on forums, you guys not so
RJ
much.
Wheel says individual stocks are more affected by fundamental. This is a relevant study to futures. This is like saying sitting on bow of powerboat you might fall off, therefore don't go to bow of ocean liner.
Well, how do you know? How do you know that that's true? But I just find it interesting that when I have this discussion with people on forums and stuff, and they'll say, well, you can do X, Y, and Z, or this is effective, or whatever, and I'm like, prove it. And I never get the proof. I never get the proof. It's like, so somebody was saying, oh my gosh, on Futures IL, somebody said that they had been using a technical analysis strategy for 5 years and were profitable with it consistently. And I said, prove it. And they kind of gave me this, this response like, well, I don't have to show you, I'm not proving anything to anybody, I'm not selling anything. So then he messaged me where he got it from. And it was a program, right? It was a series of technical analysis indicators that you purchased from a vendor for $5,000. $5,000 technical analysis indicator. And when I looked at what he was doing, it was having a stop larger than your target. Now, he didn't show me the stats, but if you looked at the stats, then it would be really obvious, right? And this is one of the things that's the most frustrating is that I think the people that are making money with technical analysis are largely doing it by taking on excessive risk. If you take on excessive risk, then there's always going to be money in that. People who are great with TA probably don't reveal their strategies because they're afraid it will get in the wild and the market will arbitrage it out. You're totally right, Sunday Driver. The technical analysis is self-destructing. Debating if it works or doesn't is like good, real, or not. If you don't enjoy the discussion, then who cares? Come to 3,000. You know you're going to do it. Oh, there's a little bit of distribution right there, 3,005. Trading is self-destructing, charging fees isn't. Yeah.
Treasury_trader says I heard about a study where the conclusion was that you have to be under the top 0.6% of the day traders in order to make the money a bank teller does. That's just insane. Just stop trading. Lol.
Right. Well, and from that perspective, here's where I'm going. Like, okay, how is it that you're going to become the top 1% of day traders using the same tools that everybody else does? Makes no sense at all. No sense at all. Okay, so they did distribute at 05. They're coming down a little bit more. And they're being a little slow. I do think that they're going to get to 3,000. I think that if you're going to be that top 1%, you've got to understand everything. And that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. So it's like when you look at what actually drives the markets and what actually drives the money, trying to do it with technical analysis is like silly. From my understanding of things, looking at it and saying, you know, that that's predictive is kind of dumb. It's like, if you're looking at a temperature gauge, okay, you're outside and you're following the temperature, and you can see that the temperature has just gone up a little bit. It's gone up by 1/10 of a degree, right? And so you say, oh, well, using my technical analysis, the probability that we continue to go up in temperature, or the probability that we will go back down and go back to our average, is X amount, because we've done all of the trends on it. Okay. But then there's this other guy standing next to you, and he looks up at the sky and he sees that there's a cloud coming over. So he knows that the temperature is about to decrease. That's what I view it as. That's how I view technical analysis versus fundamental analysis. You're looking at this tiny little thing that is basically based on what has already happened, when that's not what drives the market. What drives the market is people have to move money around based on the fundamentals of things that are happening around the world and different business cycles and stuff. That's what moves the money. If you know what those cycles are, especially when you consider that most people don't, that's a way better way to find edge than to basically spend all your time back testing for a holy grail that will eventually self-destruct. You know?
Bot says, so you're saying a great race car driver has to use a different speedometer than all the other drivers use?
I think that race car drivers put every effort that they can into every part of their vehicle to gain an edge over other drivers because it's competitive. My heat map? Oh, sorry, I have you mean this right here? Well, any competitive market is a good analogy, right? But, so so like if you're playing basketball, what makes you good at basketball? Well, one of the things that makes you good at basketball is being tall. Their genetics do play into it. Now, what are the exact genetics that make you most effective at trading? I'm not sure that we're 100% sure. Oh, we did go to 3,000. And one of it is because it's a physical skill. Sure. But teams, what do? They look at the other team. They say, how do they play? What are some strategies that we could use that will take advantages of their weaknesses or will decrease their strengths? You know, where do we have an advantage over them compared to other people? This is the kind of it's competitive, and you're competing against individual people, right? Statistics can be useful, right? They do this Moneyball stuff, and they say, okay, this guy has on average more turnovers, so we should put more defense on him so that he makes more turnovers, right? But you can't just use the numbers blindly, right? You have to actually understand the dynamics of the game and everything else like that. So it's to say that you can just use this one thing is foolish. It's myopic, I think. I was just saying that trading in these markets is competitive. Sorry, I'm not reading them all. There's so many comments here that I think it wouldn't be able to. Actually, I think you guys calm down. I can turn it auto read back on. $29.95. Well, where do you think that we could go if it was going to be like a really doozy of a day?
Smash the Bid says, do you really believe someone who has an objective strategy that works is going to put it online?
I think that if somebody has an objective strategy that works, that they could at the very least prove to people that they have one.
Uzi Knesset says, busted that third SD for the hour, slightly smiling face.
Yeah. Well, they moved up a little bit into Treasury. That makes sense because we're getting the opening drive and all that. Question is, how far is this drive going to go? Well, we had the low from Friday, which is down at 29.8350.
Gary Rich says, I'm gonna throw up on the border collie listening to this topic. Vomiting loudly.
I don't understand why it's hard for people to just go in to like.
Bot says, I think most of us are a little surprised by your dismissal of technical analysis as being a useful tool for traders.
I'm sure. But again, here's let me make 3 points on this. Number one, technical analysis is viewed as a useful tool for traders because we want it psychologically. There are things within our psyche that want technical analysis to work. Right? So that's the first thing. Number two, the vast majority of retail traders are using technical analysis. So what makes us think that the thing that everybody else is using is going to work? It's not going to work. You don't want to be with the crowd. Let me take it a different way. Momentum doesn't make sense. Momentum strategies don't make sense. But not from like that it's like an impossible way to make money, but the idea that okay, a bunch of other people have already bought into it, and so I should buy into it too because that means that it's going to continue, makes no sense. Okay, why is it going to continue? The way that you make money in the market from a trend is that other people are going to come in after you. So if other people have already come in before you, that's less chance that there's going to be more people behind you. Does that make sense? Right? Now, if I see a little bit of momentum and I know that there was a piece of news, okay, and so probably only like 1% of the market has realized that this change has taken place and that the rest of them are going to have to get in line with that trend change. Now there's a momentum trade, right? Because you know that people are going to come in after you. People are going to come in after you, right? But you don't want to be with the crowd, right? You want to take it before everybody realizes that. Before everybody realizes that, but at a certain point at which they're not going to be aggressively pushing against you. Because momentum does not exist. Well, momentum is just a construct of our minds. But the reason that momentum exists is because other people come in. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like it goes up because everybody thinks that there's momentum. But if there's not actually a fundamental reason for that to happen, then what's going to happen is all of the technical traders are going to get in, and then once they're all in, they're going to have to take profits, and it's going to revert back to the mean, and it's not actually going to go. And at what point are you going to get in there? Are you going to get in at the beginning of the trend, or are you going to be one of the people that comes in at the very end just as it's quitting? And because technical analysis indicators tend to lag, you're going to get in at the end. But I guess the reason why I'm saying that, like, the thinking that most retail traders have behind momentum trades doesn't make sense. To make money, you can't be with the crowd. You can't be doing what everybody else is doing. Right? If momentum was always an effective strategy, then everybody would be able to just follow each other and buy and make money. It doesn't work like that. Would crypto trading be the ultimate study of psychology and momentum, thinking that because cryptos, for the most part, have a little economic utility at the moment? Well, there is some interesting psychology that we can get through that.
Smash the Bid says, what would that person gain from sharing his results? One camp would say bullshit. Photoshop. The other camp would hound him and want taught.
What would they lose? Why is it that you can't get even one person to post the results out of hundreds of people that will make claims online? I've literally had like 3 people show me results. and one of them had an edge that, it kind of works, but there's way more to it than there's some discretion involved in that they're incorporating something else besides the technicals. And then the other ones were people that the reason they were making money was because they were taking on excessive risk. How come you can't even get one? Huh? There's all these people that are making money out there with technical analysis and they can prove it. Who can't even show the results? Doesn't make any sense.
Bot says, I suppose you also subscribe to the idea of not wearing a mask to protect you and your family against the risks of COVID-19.
Oh, certainly not. The studies that they've done on this, and they've done, like, I've seen like 3 or 4 pretty effective. I'm not going to say that they account for everything, but pretty solid studies showing that wearing a mask does reduce the spread of coronavirus. Although it doesn't necessarily protect you from getting it from other people, but it does prevent you from spreading. So if we all wore masks, it would reduce the spread of it. I'm kind of the opinion that even with masks, that you're probably all going to catch it at some point anyways. But there's a bigger problem with masks, right? People don't want, I don't know. If you had to wear a mask, one of the things I'm noticing is that a lot of the people that are really saying like, oh, masks is really important. Okay, now that they're still not, 83 was yesterday's low, right? Anyways, I think that a lot of the people that are like really, really arguing about this online are people that don't wear masks. Because I tell you what, I wear a mask for an hour and it drove me crazy. I did not like it. I cannot imagine having to wear a mask all day for a job. That would be I wouldn't be able to do it. It would drive me crazy. It would drive me crazy. From a public policy perspective, you've got to have more than masks because just the nature of it, there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to wear them. You know what I mean? Anyways. Where were we getting at?
RJ Wheels says, I just shorted MYM to go to VWAP. Hit it on the nose. That kind of definitive reasoning with desired outcome could never be done with fundamental.
Well, yeah, but you could do it plenty of times where you expect it to come back to the VWAP and then it continues to go. In fact, the statistical probability is that it's going to move away from the VWAP, not towards it. Of course, the VWAP bounce is a thing, but so here's where technical analysis kind of screws us up, is that there are 100% tendencies in the market. There is a tendency for them to move back to that VWAP and then bounce off of it. 100%. There is a very, very strong tendency for it to do that. I think that having a VWAP up on your chart and knowing where that is an important thing to know about the markets. But can you generate excess returns off of it? Typically, no. And the reason is because when you have a strong pattern and that pattern fails, then you lose big. And usually the tendencies that you get, like the percentage, is like a 55% chance, 55, 45 type of a thing. And then, if the risk reward, doesn't make up for that. And usually it doesn't. And that's where we're saying, like, technical analysis is self-destructing. You're going to find that inefficiency. Everybody's going to start trading it, and then it goes away. And of course, the probability of that event happening probably doesn't change. It's just you're not able to get into it, right?
Guido Sledden says my surgeon wore a mask for 6 hours. Saved my life.
Evidence is pretty conclusive that it does prevent the spread. I don't know what you're saying about
Treasury_trader says, how about Peter Brandt?
I don't know. I'm just saying, show me a guy trading futures using purely technical analysis. They're making money consistently for 5 years. Show it to me. Like, come into NinjaTrader. You're being profitable. Come into NinjaTrader. Come in here. There's your trade performance tab, right? Come in here. Okay. Set your start date to 2015. Yeah, right there. 2015. Okay. And then show me all of the trades. You can do that. Why doesn't anybody do that? Is this so hard to do? Is this like some awful thing is going to happen to you if you pull that up and then take a screenshot of it and post it on Big Mike's forum or something like that? Come on, guys. We all know. Why doesn't it happen? Because they're not making money. There's something in those results they're embarrassed about. They don't want other people to see. How can it move away from VWAP if it doesn't first go to it? Yeah, well, but I'm just saying. Let me rephrase it for you, RJ. Will. From the backtesting studies that I've done, you are more likely to make a profit if you trade it against the VWAP, which is to say that if it's above the VWAP, to buy it, and if it's below the VWAP, to sell it.
Bot says many of us have done that on your Discord channel.
Well, so I have seen people that have given me those results. You're right. But they're not almost everybody that has come in and like verified that they've had. Well, so sorry, let me back up. First of all, my qualification for that is not 5 years worth of results. So that's a big part of it. Because I take it more like, do you have a period? Can you prove like 3-month period that you've done well and it's live trading? The actual, that's the funny thing, is that the actual what is the word? The bar to be set as elite is not that high. Okay. I don't know why more people don't do it. But the bar to do it is not that high. Okay. But for 5 years, like that's the way. But then the other thing is that most of these guys that are doing trades in elites, they're not scalping. And I don't think any of them are.
Treasury_trader says there are so many people getting funded at Top Step. I can't really believe that.
But how many traders do you think they have at Top Step that have been funded for 5 years? I bet you that you could count them on one hand.
Sunday Driver says game theory. Seth, if you had a great TA trading method, would you reveal it while it's effectively trading and making you bank?
I'm not saying that they should reveal it. You shouldn't reveal it. If you have a technical analysis strategy that works, you shouldn't reveal anything about it. But you could show your results.
Bot says, what does scalping have to do with your discussion about technical analysis?
Well, so there's two things about it. Number one is that there's an edge in just being able to hold a long time and like holding overnight, right? So if all you were to do was to just buy the S&P 500 every day and then hold it to the next day, you would probably come out positive, right? Just because you're taking on the risk of holding overnight. Excuse me, I'm having the burps. So that's the first thing about it. But the second thing about it is that when you're trading on a higher time frame, like they're incorporating fundamentals into it, right? So they're not trading on pure technical analysis. This was kind of where I was getting at.
Treasury_trader says, well, I am saying that I don't believe the results at Top Step are real. RJ Wheel says 6 months from now selling it every day will be a winner.
The thing that I find interesting, because I would, had when we started out, we were doing the combine, and we knew a lot of people that were doing the combine, and so I've had a couple of people that like friended me on Facebook, or that I'm following their blogs, or there's other YouTube channels of funded traders. Okay, I can point out 2 or 3 YouTube channels to you where these individuals trading oil have been funded 4 or 5 times. No
Bot
joke.
says, I don't understand why you're floating this balloon.
4 or 5 times that they have been funded at Top Step Trader and then blew their account. And that is, and what is happening? They're taking on excessive risk, and that's how they're passing the combine. But they can't be profitable over a 5-year time span because they'll blow up.
Gary Rich says, I'm listening to a pervasive S.T.D.Er, seriously trading destructionist.
I think
RJ Wheel says, or okay, let's talk about how to trade fundamental. What do you suggest? Treasury_trader says, why are you hating bots? What is your approach?
Bot says, if there are 2 tools to use for trading, technical and fundamental, why would anyone not want to use both?
Exactly. You should use both. Okay. But the thing that I'm trying to get out to people is that what you can use technical analysis for and what it's useful for, right, is not what the majority of people are trying to do with it. Right? Like, I know, like, let's say that I really thought that we were going to go down today.
Bot says, but that does not mean you should only use one of the 2 tools.
If I think that we are going to go much lower today, and I don't, I only thought 3,000 and beyond that, I don't know. But if I still felt that the sentiment and flows for the day were really negative and that we were going to close lower from here, now would be a good spot from a technical analysis perspective to take a short. At least it would be one inflection point, right? Because we have come back to the longer term average We have busted out all of the shorts, right? If we were going to turn around, this would be one spot that they would do it. If they don't turn around here, then we're more likely to get, that means that we have a little bit more even of a day.
Gary Rich says set your sample size of participants using TA good or bad or tiny in percent terms.
Bot says I'm not hating at Treasury_trader, I just can't understand the reasoning behind this blanket statement Seth is making.
Yeah, so let me make the blanket statement. Here is my thesis. I'm going to be like really specific with it, okay? If you gave me 200 people and 100 of them, you had them trade largely on fundamentals, and the other 100 of them, you had them trade largely on technical analysis, and they had to trade every day for 5 years, I bet that the people that were focused on news flow and fundamental analysis would do better. That is my contention. That's what I'm saying. So, in particular, one of the problems that I have with technical analysis is that people say that because you use technical analysis that you don't need to use the other stuff, right? People will say, well, you shouldn't look at the fundamentals because it's going to bias your opinion. Do you ever hear that? I hear that all the time, right? Ignore the Twitter, ignore these fundamentals. It's just going to screw up your read from the technical analysis. They're literally saying, don't use fundamentals. It's wrong. You have to use them both. Let's see here. So we had the new home sales. I should read that. Pending home sales, -5.1. Pending home sales, 44.3% versus an expected 19.9. That's really good. We still have Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index at the bottom of the hour. So that move up might have been because of pending home sales. They are continuing to go through. So this whole thing about, if you're going to short, there would be a good place to do it. It seems to me that this market is going to be a more balanced market than that. So we would want to, if we were going to take a short now, we would want to see, a full upswing on the upside, right? That's a place where we can use, technical analysis essentially at that point. Don't think of it as a predictor or something like that. Just think of it as a statistical tool, right? If I'm going to go short, then I should take a place in which I've gotten a statistically high price, right? That's how I think it should be approached. But, they say that like 95% of technical traders fail. And Peter at Jigsaw was saying, well, the majority of traders should fail, but it shouldn't be that high. And I think he's right. It shouldn't be that high. But I think that the reason that it's so high is because we continue to push them through to technical indicators. And even Peter at Jigsaw has done that, right? Because one of his things was he's like, okay, what you got to do is take something that you see in the market and watch it and keep statistics on it. And that's how you come together with your trades. Because you got to know, without your biased filters on, what the propensity of the market actually is. And that's one way of looking at it. But the real issue is that the order flow doesn't help you if you don't have the fundamental basis for it. Now, I have seen some claims on order flow, right? Like sorry. Actually, I'm thinking about a couple of different people that have done stuff. One of the things that's interesting about it is that Gary Norton hits technical analysis, but he considers himself an order flow trader, and he doesn't think that order flow is the same thing as technical analysis. But in my opinion, it is, because it's making decisions based purely off of market generated information. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't taken his course, but I don't think that it's that simple. Okay, but But Smash the Bid was saying to us on Friday that he had something that did well. He hasn't shown us the results, so I don't know if that's really true or if he's only getting those because he's taking on excessive risk or how he's doing it, right? If Peter at Jigsaw said it. Well, I've never seen him show results, no. In No BS day trading, I haven't seen results. No, you can look at his webinars and you can see how he did on certain webinars, but we don't know how well he's doing over a 5-year period. I'm going to bet you that over a 5-year period, especially the past 5 years, that it's probably just kind of okay. Because the reality, this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? When he was making his money, the reason he was doing it was because we were in this crazy bull market in treasuries, right? So you're taking on excessive risk with your treasuries. You got this really strong flow up all the time. We used to trade really wide range in the treasuries. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of people that make money in that situation until the market reverts back, and then they're not going to make money anymore. That's why you kind of have to look at it over long periods of time. But I've never seen his results, and you're probably right. But on the other hand, both of those guys, both Peter and John from No BS, never say to just use technical analysis, right? John Grady says you need to know context. But I think what is different from what I'm trying to say than what John Grady is trying to say is that I don't think that you just look for technical signals and then factor in context. I think that instead what you do is you form a trade thesis based off of the fundamentals, and then you look for a technical signal to enhance your entry. I think that it's backwards. New Day Outlook. No, I want to argue it. This is what I want. I don't understand, Gary. I think that retail traders largely ignore fundamentals, and that if we wanted to make a significant difference on the retail trading world, that the best thing that we can tell them is that they need to look at fundamentals first. That's the message. Now, we're still in, what do we call it? Trial balloon stage, right? Because I know that you guys aren't going to like it because you're all using technical analysis first, for starters, and because 95% of us are using technical analysis first. So the question is, okay, what sort of arguments are people going to make? What sort of arguments can you make that are more effective? Is somebody going to come up with something that proves you wrong? That's kind of where we're at right now, is like, okay, so here's our qualifications. Because like I said, you could be in a market that's just like really bullish, right? Or you could be taking on excessive risk. So that means that we need to be able to see the stats of how the strategy actually performed, that they needed to be live trades, and that it needs to be over a very long period of time, which I think 5 years is probably sufficient. 10 years, that would be amazing. But 5 years, maybe 5 years would be sufficient. And in those 5 years, you're going to have a period where they didn't make money. Like there's going to be a year where they didn't make money, right? But that overall they were profitable. If somebody presented that, then that would be a pretty big blow to the theory. If they said, well, I'm only using technical analysis. Or better yet, they said it's an automated trading system programmed in NinjaTrader 8. I bet you it doesn't exist.
Dan H says the fundamentals are in my subconscious as I trade. So I am still influenced while I look at the technicals.
Bot says I was being facetious. I have little to no respect for anything Peter Davies has to say or thinks about trading.
Oh.
He's simply selling his software to unsuspecting noobs, in my opinion.
Yeah, so he is selling software. I think the thing with the Jigsaw software that makes it a little bit different is that it's an execution edge, right? Like the way that you can put your orders in Jigsaw is, man, like the chart traders and stuff like that, they're just not as good. They're just not as good. And that's where the advantage comes from. And I think, you know, like I was saying, I don't think that you base your trade off of technical analysis, but does knowing where they're absorbing and which prices they go through and stuff, is that useful information for making the trade? I think it is. I think you need to use all of it. And the DOM is the only place that I know of where you can see it all without having to move your eyes around. I can just focus on that one spot, and I can even see all of what's going on in all of the correlated instruments out of the corner of my eye. You can't do that anywhere else. And that's the primary thing behind the Jigsaw platform. And what they say about order flow and how it works, it's correct. They're what they teach about how the markets work is correct. But what they don't do is give you setups. And if you were to go in and create some setups that are based off of order flow, you're going to find that without a larger understanding of the fundamentals of the market, they're not going to work. Because what you'll find with technical analysis indicators is that one day it works every time and one day it never works. And it depends on what mode the market is in, right? When you see absorption, sometimes they'll go through the absorption every time, and sometimes the absorption will stop them and turn them around every time. And how do you know which one is which day is which? You have to know the context. You have to know the fundamental drivers of the day ahead of time to know what type of strategies they're going to be using so that you can actually even make that read. So here again, can't just use technicals.
Treasury_trader says a good way to trade would be to open a stock account or CFD account where you can trade stocks, then only trade crazy news like Wirecard, Hertz, Nike, and so on.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Trading the news. I think it's so interesting. So let's back up a second. Why are there so many people that trade off of technical analysis rather than trying to trade the news? Because you have to pay for a news squawk, I guess, and that's $250 a month. Probably that must be it. I'm reading through here, seeing if there's anything else. Trump versus Biden in the key swing states. This is compiled via 538. It only includes pollsters rated B or better. Colorado, wow. They have Biden up 17.7 in Colorado. I'm pretty sure that Biden is going to win Colorado, but I'm surprised that it's 17. Florida, they have 7.2. Okay. Michigan, 10. Nevada, 8.7. New Hampshire, 8.3. When is New Hampshire considered a swing? Okay, North Carolina, 2.9. That's within margin. Ohio, 2.6. Pennsylvania, Biden plus 8. Virginia, Biden plus 11. Wisconsin, Biden plus 8.1. Now, those numbers are probably look pretty online to me. Or do I have something today? Oh, that's something else. Oh my gosh, I hate it when you install a new application and it has a lot of notifications. Oh, I hate that. Settings, notifications. Just turn it all off. Turn it all off. What I really hate is some like TikTok. Oh my gosh, TikTok is an evil application, guys. If you enjoy it and you're going to use it regularly, then do it. But if you're just curious, don't do it, because it does evil things. It's spying on you. And even if you turn the notifications off, it'll still give you notifications. I can post this month's results. Well, give me just this month's results. Obviously, that wouldn't be as much as we're talking about, because we were talking about like a 5-year span. But if you just gave me 1 month's results, then that would be useful. And you can send them to me on Discord. Go into the video description, go into the Discord, and then you can see me there in Discord, and you can just send me a private message and show me the results from just this month. You're using Flow, so that's good. That's more than just, there's this other thing about, is technical analysis just analysis of price or volume? Or does it include order flow as well? Or is order flow sufficiently different from technical analysis? And I think that one depends on if you think order flow trading works or not, really. Because the people that believe in order flow want to differentiate it from technical analysis. But if you think of it as just whether you're trading only on market generated information, then it's, yeah. But it is different from price and volume because you're seeing the orders from the individuals. So it's a different set of information. Donald Trump: Seattle looters, agitators, anarchists, and protesters are now refusing to leave the chop zone. They have zero respect for government or the mayor of Seattle or the governor of Washington. Not good. Texas hospitalizations from coronavirus rise another 7.5%. We're at the high, close to the high of the session. Seeing pretty strong, bid across the board in the treasuries today. Like, especially when we made that move up at the open. They've got these strong bids here at like 06. See all that? It's really imbalanced. Planet Fitness shares fell as much as 6.1% on reports that hundreds of people who went to a West Virginia gym may have been exposed to the virus.
Bot says order flow is one of the technical analysis tools. No one to my knowledge has ever said otherwise.
Oh, Jigsaw in particular have definitely tried to differentiate it from technical analysis. And the traders say it's not technical analysis.
Sergio C. Bajos says, I like your thinking, been trading tech analysis forever, no money, and yes, nobody will show their results, even guys that I paid big money. If you ask to see their results, they say is an insult.
Right. This is where it's like, it's crazy. Is you say, show me your results, and then they get all uppity and offended. Why would you be offended? Why wouldn't, like, okay, when I'm doing well, okay, like let's think back to, because I've had periods of profitability, right? What'll happen is I'll do really good for 3 months, and then I'll do really badly for like 3 months. That's kind of the way that things have gone for me, right? When I'm doing well, especially that first time that I was doing well, I was posting it. If somebody sat down and they said, well, prove your results, that to me, that's like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity to make somebody else on the internet look stupid. Because it's so easy for me to just come over here, take a picture, come over here, press paste, and then go, haha, you're an idiot. What? And yet nobody does it. Nobody does it. They should just use Jigsaw leaderboard to show the results. There you go. Yeah. That's the cool thing about Jigsaw, is that you can see results. There's a leaderboard and they have these great stats built into it and everything. Right? Why is it we have all of these tools to show us what our performance is? Nobody wants to share it. Well, I'll tell you what, so on the Jigsaw leaderboard, one thing is that you'll see people that do really well, but then they're only there for so long. And I don't know if they get hired and they move on or they stop doing well, or, you never know. Because I can't talk to them. And you can't ask them how they're doing it, right? So, because I don't necessarily want to know like the ins and outs of your strategies, but what I do want to know is like, okay, how much are you incorporating news? There are things like because most of the people that are trading, they don't completely understand how they're doing it. It's Monday. That means Florida coronavirus cases will probably be lower. Tweets Forex Live, probably true. The coronavirus numbers on Monday haven't been market movers.
Pantax says, what if you're taking on more risk but right 90% of the time?
Well, that would depend on how much your risk you are taking, but you can get a positive expectancy with a strategy like that, but there will always be a risk of ruin.
Gary Rich says trading is like having sex. Some days you're awesome and great, other days you just can't get it up.
Well, I think one of the problems I've always tried to factor in context, but I think that there have been a lot of times where I just couldn't figure it out. Was like, I knew what the market was supposed to be doing, but no matter what I did, it wasn't effective. But I think that maybe one of the reasons for that was because I really didn't because I wasn't looking at the fundamentals, because I wasn't sitting down and saying, I need to become a macro trading expert. There was a lot of things about flows and stuff that I just didn't know. So, good job. Beware of the fake corona numbers report, says Alien Killer.
RJ Wheel says some days you are only in a trade for 10 seconds.
Yeah, that could be. Oh, what were we saying? Sergio was saying, what course would you think is the best for an order flow?
Boss says I'm also not opposed to these jigsaw type tools, like Bookmap and others. I just find for me they are information overload and my trading suffers from analysis paralysis. But that's just me.
Well, I think, John, that's because you need to how do I put it? I'm looking for absorption and pulling, essentially, right? Like, obviously you're looking at a bunch of different numbers there, but really you're just kind of taking in the whole thing. I can see that there's a big order at 3019. That doesn't necessarily such a big deal. Well, what I do notice in like the things that I'm looking at right now is in the 10-year, we moved up, and when we moved up, they stacked behind it. The liquidity increased as they moved up to the highs. And when they're trading through, a lot of these, they went through it. And that's it. And then, you can put your stuff over here in the alerts thing. So it's really just kind of a spur of the moment sort of a thing. It's like when you're getting to the point where you want to make your move, now I'm looking here and I'm saying, okay, let's take it two ways. And here's how I would do it with the order flow, okay? If we're going to take a long or a short in the 10-year, okay? If I was going to take a long, I know that we've been moving up. So do I want to buy at 08 or do I want to buy 08 half? Right? Well, There was an iceberg at 07.5. So you might be able to buy a little bit lower. But there's that right there, right? They just ticked up. The momentum is up. You know, you're probably going to get 08.5. In fact, I'll look. It's like it's already too late. But the answer to that one was probably that if you really want to get in and along, you probably need to hit into it now because that's the way it's going, right? So let's do it from the other direction. If you wanted to go short, should you sell 09 or should you hit into 08.5? And I think just off of that stack right there that you could probably get filled at 09. Pretty good chance that you're going to get filled at 09. In fact, I think there's a pretty good chance you're going to get 09.5, 10, etc. I would want to see how much absorbed there. Probably most of those orders are going to get filled. Let's watch. But that's it. That's all you're looking at.
Bot says you're only confirming what I just said.
Smash the bid says pasteboard.co, JFL3P1Q.png.
Hold on. Yeah, I should fix that so that you can post links, but for now. Oops. .png. Oh, I didn't find it. .co, or is it .com? Maybe he meant .com. No, he did mean .co. JFL3 P1Q .png. It's not finding it. Here, hold on a second. Just smash the bid. Just post the picture again. You can just post the link. I made it so that you can post links. Anyways, just with Bot says you're only confirming what I just said out. I really don't think that that's all that complicated, but okay.
Smash the bid says.
Oh, no, it doesn't show it to me, dude. Do you have the right link? Or did you make it public? There's gotta be something wrong. Okay, so look, 2084 have traded, right? So no, I'm gonna get filled at 09. Like that's really well all it means. The
Uzi Knesset says that link works.
It says that link works? What? Let me close all these windows. I don't need them anymore. I click that link. It doesn't find it.
Uzi Knesset says 61 total trades, 85.25% profitable.
And what's the average winner and the average loser? Man, why can't I see it? Maybe if I open it in a different web browser? Weird me out, guys. The site can't provide a secure connection. Maybe you should use a different service. Upload it to Imgur. That's weird. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because I need the HTTPS. No?
Uzi Knesset says average winning trade open profit $64.30.
Bot says here Seth.
Yeah, I wonder why I can't see it. That's so bizarre.
Uzi Knesset says lost $19.23.
Well, now that's impressive. Okay. Okay. And he's trading, I'm assuming it's a Zian. Wait, how is that? Hold on. So 171, that's a good drawdown, right? Average trade profit 58.15. Oh wait, is this is the so John, was this just the picture that
Uzi Knesset says Smash was an oil guy, the first thought thinking face.
Yeah, I don't remember. Is this was the same picture that Smash posted? Because Uzi was saying, giving me some different numbers there. Oh, maximum loss. Maybe he meant maximum loss. Average trade winning profit.
Bot says yes, that is a copy of what Smash posted.
Okay. Anyways.
Smash the Bid says that is it, Seth. Sergio C. Bajos says sorry, just asking the question again because you got interrupted. What course would you recommend to learn order flow?
Oh yeah. No, you're totally cool, Sergio. So the reason I like the No BS day trading course, if you're gonna pay for a course, and the reason that I like it is number one, it's not very expensive. And number two, it's the only place that I've seen where the game that is played is really described and explained. And I know that this game happens because I've seen them do it.
Scroll down to SEC MKT Corp credit facility. Download the XLSX for 6/28. See all the companies the Fed is buying bonds from. Time to front run.
Yes, I saw this,
Rich
Gary.
says,
We should talk about that in a second. Okay, so I'm trying to understand here. Okay, so average winner is 0.64. Average winning trade open loss. So is that like the maximum that it went against them when they win? Average losing trade open profit. Average losing trade open loss. Okay, so what that tells us is that his risk reward is roughly equal. Maximum trade open profit. So some of these numbers I don't 100% know what that means. Total trade 61. 85% it says it's profitable. But how can he have an 85% profitability rate and the profit factor is only 1.13? That's a little weird. Oh, I guess the profit factor will be roughly equal, but because he wins so much, you get up to 23. I mean, that's pretty good. It's not factoring in the commissions. So that would be something that we would have to factor in. So like, I'm not sure if he's doing treasuries here or what he's doing actually. Because some of those numbers don't match up with what you would get from a treasury. So without factoring in commissions, but let's just assume that it's going to be, let's say 250 for a round turn. He says it's ZN. Okay. Well, if we were doing 250 for a round turn, that would be generous for most brokers, right? So, he took 62 trades times 2.5, 155 in commissions, which isn't bad at all. Oh, here's the profit factor is 6. So what was this one down here? Average profit factor. How come that? What is the difference between that and that? You can do $4 roll accurate. Yeah, no, that's fine. Is he a profit factor of 6? That's like really good. So for him to be hitting 85% with an equal risk reward, everything that I see about this looks solid, right? If Smash the Bid was able to continue doing this for 5 years, then I would 100% say that proves me wrong. And at that point, I'm starting to go like, well, okay, what is it that he sees that I don't see? But that's the problem with it, is that like if it's a technical, I guess this is the other thing, is that it's not like a technical edge can't exist. It's just that technical edges are self-destructing. So there's a possibility that at some point in the future, it will stop working, right? But you're doing it in the 10-year. The thing that I find interesting about that, Ben, is that he's able to get 4 for 4. 85% of the time. That's, I mean, that's a way better than I've ever even come close. I've never even come close to performing at that. Like, I've had periods where I've had high win rates, but not with a 4-tick range. That is really quite impressive. So because it might stop working in the future, you should not trade it now. Because it might stop working in the future, you need to be completely aware of everything that's going on in the market. So that and you need to be completely aware of why it works. So that when the market changes, you'll know that the strategy is going to not perform the same way. And so that you can find other good trades when it does change. And if you've spent all of your time, you know, not doing anything else, then by the time that day comes, you won't be prepared. Because there was 5, let's say it works for 4 years, then that's 4 years worth of studying the market and macro analysis that you didn't do. Versus, I think you should always be looking at. I'm just sitting here and thinking about it with 4, and I'm like, I don't know how he does that. I guess that explains why you decided to not trade during the summer months. 100%. Because I know the way the liquidity trades in the summer and that I don't do well with it. If I had a strategy that I thought worked well in the summer, then I would go for it. But of course, right now I think we're still feeling it from the funeral and everything on Friday. I feel tired a lot, so my system must still be getting hit from it. Trader says I'm back. Did you trade today? No. You know what? If I was going to have taken a trade today, I think that I would have tried taking something from the open down to that 3,000. But then since then, I bounced back pretty hard. I don't know. I don't know if I would have taken that bounce or not. That was yesterday's low. So it did give us a technical level to have watched, but the way that the volume traded down there and everything. Let's come back over here and look at my footprints. Oh, actually, I actually might have taken it down there at 92. I wasn't really paying attention, but there was some definite absorption down there. I don't think that I've ever set my is possible. Well, it certainly could be possible.
Smash the Bid says it's possible, Seth. I know it is hard to believe.
Feeling tired a lot is an early sign of depression, which, given your recent circumstances, is 100% understandable. Right. That's where the thing I think is weird is I don't think about it a lot. I haven't been like sobbing, crying about it or anything like that. But I still feel all of the chemical feelings that I would expect if I was crying about all the time and stuff. But I didn't work out on Saturday, of course, because that was a funeral. So I'm hoping that when I do a workout today, that'll help me feel a little bit better. Well, you're getting a pretty strong buy coming in here. Um, yeah, I don't know. This is where one of the things is like, so if he continued to do it like this well for a long time, then of course you'd want to verify it with statements. But um then it would have to be like, how does he do that? Because he clearly has got something that I don't get. But I also kind of wonder, smash the bid is like, how doable do you think that this is for most people? Like, I'm going to bet that most people just watching and doing their back testing and stuff probably aren't going to stumble upon your strategy. But I don't know how you're doing it. So they're pretty impressive numbers, though. Who gives an F? Well, I give an F because I want to do it. So here's the thing that I think is unique about this one, because it's not the first time that people have shown me profitable results, right? Um, but it's the first time I think I've seen results that would fit what I would like to do so well. If I could do 4 to 4 risk reward in the 10 year and make out 85% of the time after 50, over 50 trades, that's really good. Especially in the market that we've had lately has been kind of eh. Okay, so that last move up was from the Florida cases, rise 3.7% versus 7-day average of 5.5. Why must you beat up everyone who does it? You will never follow step by step other traders. Well, that's not true, Gary. I have done that where I followed something else step by step and going back and making sure that I tried to understand it as best as I could for several weeks, I think. But eventually, though, that strategy just, um, well, I kind of want to say that it doesn't work, but I think it's more complicated than to just say that it doesn't work. It wasn't giving me what I wanted. When you look at the tendency of it and everything, it just didn't work. It was like I was making money most days in the E-mini, but then when it didn't work out, it really, really didn't work out. And probably the main reason why I was making money is because it's been one of these time periods where everybody's just buying the E-mini anyways. So I didn't think that the gains that I was getting from it were very impressive. But with this one, for instance, the difference is that the risk is tight, right? 4 ticks. Well, I guess you can get really tight risk in the 10 year is really two ticks. But I mean, risking that much for 4 ticks on a 10-year trade, that's not too bad. And when to catch it 85% of the time is really impressive. I can't for the life of me even begin. I'm sitting here like, how can you possibly begin that? I guess I've never sat here and gone with like a 4 for 4, risk 4 and make 4. But I guarantee you, if I started doing that within the 10 year and just putting it based off of what I tend to see in the 10 year, I don't think I'd come anywhere close to 85%. Best I've ever been able to get in the 10 year has been around 50. There was some times when I was doing well. If I was doing well, it would be like 60% win rate, right? 85%. I have no clue how he does that. And before, I mean, if he explained it to me, I guess I could backtest it myself. But that is one that, like, to prove it, of course, to ultimately prove it, right? We'd have to do, like I said, 5 years, and we'd have to prove that they were live trades. But to prove this would be the proof would be you can be, well, I guess how do we put this? Here's another issue with technical analysis, right? If you have a strategy and it works, and it's based off of technical analysis, just based off of the distribution, there's going to be a certain number of people that are profitable with it, right? I think that these results are more than just like profitable. That's like, it looks extremely consistent. I would want to see a couple, like let's take like, I wonder if you've been able to do it for 3 months. Could you show for 3 months? That would be interesting. You always tear everything apart you've shown by backtesting it and concluding it doesn't work. Well, yeah, because if I backtest it and the stats say that it doesn't work, then why would you trade it? Right? I mean, isn't that's the whole thing is that the edge that is claimed from the technical setup doesn't even exist most of the time. Well, on many of these. There are some things that we got where it's like, sorry, Smash It says it's been backtested on years of data and it's profitable. How would you backtest that though if it's based on the level 2 and the order flow? Well, sorry, you never said that it was based on level 2, did you? So if it only involves volume, then I suppose that you could backtest that. Even though maybe, like, would it require tick replay to backtest it? But I don't know what platform that is. This is not NinjaTrader. Is that, I don't even think that's Sierra Chart. I don't know what platform that is. I don't think I've ever seen that. Maybe it's a part of a platform that I've tried before, but I just never got into their trade analysis stuff. It's a Monday. That means Florida coronavirus cases will probably be lower, and Forex Live says free money. It's really interesting. Like last Monday, Tuesday, the market didn't care. And then we had over the latter part of the week, the cases started to really matter a lot. And now it's like all of the traders are watching it. And they saw that the number was not as good on Monday, and so they're buying it. Well, I wouldn't fight that in this particular context, but there might be times when you would want to fade that. If there was something else bad was going on and there was reason for them to try and take it short right then and there. I don't know if that's the case right now, though. But, so where were we getting at? Instead of using it with discretion based on a combination of fundamentals and technicals? Well, it still doesn't matter, right? Like, the thing has to have an edge in the first place, right? If you backtest it and there's no clear, there's no clear edge in it, then how does combining that with fundamentals help anything? There have been some that we have shown there to be propensities for, and I do use them though, but never as the basis for a trade, right? Which is kind of the bigger thing, and that's kind of a little nuance of it, right? Because I think up until now the argument has been, yeah, you're trading with technical analysis, but your technical analysis needs to be informed by context. And what I'm saying now is that the primary basis for your trade should be based on a fundamental analysis informed by technicals. It's the opposite. 50% retracement of Fridays be down. When I'm looking at it, they clearly went down to yesterday's low and tested it, and then came back up. And now they're testing what would this be? The pivot, I guess you could say, the central pivot. I don't know what PP stands for, but if they were to move, that means some of these levels like 30, 37. Sure. Actually, there's quite a gap through here. Oh man, there's like really a big gap all the way up to 3042. So from here at 3030 to 3040 is kind of a spot. We'll see if they just completely cross over it or if they fill it in a little bit more this time. I think that there may be a bit of filling in. But with the way that the orders are coming through here on the flow, I'm thinking, I don't know. That last little move out looks strong, but, there's no way for me to know if it's going to continue on from there. Smash the Bid says yes, using volume on CR chart. Oh man, that just makes it even more. I don't know how he's doing it. If I knew how he was doing it, if he explained to me how to do it, I would try doing it. Maybe off screen. I don't know. If it's with volume, I guess I could put on a chart over here and I could maybe even try programming it and letting it run and see if it works. But yeah, if I could take trades in the 10-year and have an 85% win rate off of equal risk reward, that's 100%. That's what I would like to do. Oh, you know what? Wait, we need to come in here and look at our range targets. That's what we need to do. Oh.
Winston's mom says, Speculator Seth, why don't you up your vitamin C intake? Tangerine.
Pretty sure that I'm getting pretty good at vitamin C uptake right now, but I can look into that. Okay, so upside target is 3045. I don't know about that one. Downside target is 2980, which we came, a good 10 points short of. So this is interesting. So I can kind of see the technical setup, but I'm not too sure that I have a. I'm still thinking that we're gonna sell on the day in the end, especially since some of that buy there was based off of an interpretation of news that's wrong. Well, and look, they're coming back down. Okay, so I'm a little hesitant to take trades on a Monday, but and like I said, we're not going to take trades this week because we're still feeling off. But let's just say 30, 27, 50 right there, we would have just gotten filled. And so we could take it from 2750 and let's see here. Our target would be the 80, right? Oh, wow. Is that really possible? I don't know about that, man. It can't be right. The VIX is not that high. It just seems so far away. 40 points. So if we were actually it's 50 points, isn't it? It's 50 points away. Versus on the upside, what's the upside one again? 47, 42. If we did it would be 77, would be equal on the upside, but really you would want to take it with 25, so it would really be 30, 40, 50, 5, 52, 52. So if we were going to take the short here, the risk reward would work pretty well. But I'm not sure in this instance that you really want to take it all the way down. I think it would make more sense to go to like 3005. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if the case is strong enough for it. Definitely see the possibility that you could take it, but I'm not sure that I'm completely sold on it. Yeah, John has his at 3046. The other issue is that it's Monday, but I just kind of see it 30. We just put it right there, right? I'm not sure if the fundamental basis for my trade is strong enough, but we've gotten 2 points off of it so far. Did we get some absorption up in there? That's another thing that we could look at. Well, there was a decent amount at 3027, in fact. So maybe it's a better
Box says
trade than
fixed
I
target
initially
minus
thought.
50% equals 2,980.25.
Yeah. I think, though, for this trade, I don't think that we should go all the way for the VIX target, especially with us being as high as we are. For all we know, this is just a pullback. Well, where was that? Okay, so when we moved off of the Florida numbers, it was at 3019. I think if we were going to take this one, that we should be going for more like 3005 and then see where they go from there. Or is that an okay spot? Yeah, well, you're going to get 3. You're going to get 2 in there because there's one around 3010 and then there's one around, it's really more like 3003, 3004. And then there's the low of the day. But on this one, I think, for us to get back to the low of the day, that might take a long time. So man, I'm interested to see. It sounds like the strategy that Smash the Bid has been showing us that he's only recently started doing it, right? So I'm interested to see now if he comes back in a year and then he shows us a whole year of it, what we would see. So I would expect there would be periods where it doesn't do as well, but even in the periods where it doesn't do as well, we'll see how it holds up. Mm. So I'm noticing there's a little bounce there. There was a little bounce there off of some liquidity in the E-mini, but it's still down there and it's actually more of it is showing up. Wow. So if we were going to take this, we said 2750, right? Let's just call it 28 for quick math here. And we thought that it was going to go back to the even. then we could give ourselves 14 ticks on here. So 30, 34, 42. I don't know. There's a couple of things about this that got me the wrong way, but I think it could still work. The problem that I have with this, so I think some of the fundamentals on it are good. So like they moved up on coronavirus numbers being low, but we know that the numbers on the beginning of the week are low anyways. So there's that. But then so that's a good basis for the trade. And we also still have a lot of flows that people are going to have to sell some equities. And the treasuries continue to remain elevated. And the 6J, well, now that's a little off. I don't know what to think about that. I've not noticed that the 6J got creamed there. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with the 6J. That would maybe, that gives me a little bit of pause, but this is all theoretical anyways. I think that the fundamental basis for it is like a B. It's like a B minus setup. You know what I mean? It's not like the greatest setup that we've had lately. Last week we had some setups that I would just thought were so great. You know? So let's say it's a B setup. From a technical point of view, I think that we're okay. We've got a little bit of negative trend coming in. We're high. So that's, I think those things are good. And we have a couple of little things that are telling us negative. Well, for instance, the tick seems to be down. The adaptive CCI seems to suggest that we are starting to get a negative trend starting. So I think that all of the technicals that in terms of like, is this a good spot to take a trade? I think that those give us a pass. And the volume seems to give us a pass too. That we had some absorption up there at the 2750 area. There's been a significant distribution and they're likely to turn back down and rotate. It's when I get into the risk reward analysis of it that it starts to weird me out a little bit. Because when I'm looking at it, if I expect it to come back to the open, which is pretty far, then I'm risking on the upside it essentially going to our VIX target up here at like 42, which seems like a lot of, like, if it came up there, I don't think I'd still be holding it. You know what I mean? I don't know if maybe you would need a break. Let's say that it was a new high, then maybe I would get upset. Then maybe I would be a little bit more like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't working. So is that saying we're going to risk six on this? Then we should really only be looking for it to go to, well, then we would want it to go to 18, right? That's maybe a more reasonable trade. 18, 16. Okay. So 16 would be good. This area right here looks way more attractive to me though. But it's just because the risk doesn't 100% match up for me, it's making me a little uncomfortable. So I don't know. If we were trading today, I bet you I probably would have clicked it, but I don't know. It's probably not a strong enough setup today. Now, I guess we should take the other side of it, which is on the upside. 30.25. So if we wanted to go for an upside trade, I think we could do it. I would like to see it down a little bit more. Like maybe 22 would be a good spot. 22. And then like, again, we're looking for on the upside. So we could risk 12. Yeah, we could risk 12, 30, 12, which has a pretty good spot there for it. Yeah. See, now when I look at the risk reward of the long trade, I get something that makes more sense to me, right? Like the spots where it should go and like what the probability of it going to that spot or not, it's much more clear to me based off of the kind of the technicals and like the volume and stuff. So I don't know. That hmm. Now what would be the positive case though is oh, dear, I should have started with that, right? I think the positive case is the coronavirus numbers are going down. You continue to have Federal Reserve hit, and we need to retrace a bit. I don't know. Like I'm trying to see it. I don't see the fundamental case for us to move up, but I know that there's a really high probability that it could because that's just been the mode that the market's been in for such a long time. You know, like if we were to go down and take out the VIX targets below us at 2980, I would read that as like incredibly negative, you know? Like I think that would really hurt the market. What is the word? Sentiment. You know what I mean? Which kind of makes me think like maybe it's not that likely. But I don't know. Like so far this has been going okay. We are getting downside and they that liquidity that they bounced off of they've gone through now as well. Well, I still feel really apprehensive about it, but probably done enough analysis. It's time to just let it go and see if it gets down there or not. And really, the take that we should be looking at now is does something come in to invalidate the trade? So we should stay on our toes and look for reasons that we may need to get out. Oh, so you know what we need to talk about was that thing that Gary brought up, which was you can see which companies are in the ETF now. There's a good zero hedge story about it that I posted in the education channel that I'll pull up here. Or no, sorry, the economy channel. So they went through and they're showing what is in the ETF that the Fed created. What is it that they want? Like, think about this for a second. They they were only allowed to buy certain companies, and so they created an ETF to get around that. So these companies are ETFs that they've created, so that these are companies that are in this ETF that they created because the Federal Reserve thought that it was so important to have these in here that they basically did an end run around what Congress put in place to be able to invest in these companies in order to invest in the bonds of these companies. Now, I'm not sure, there could be many reasons why, but my first thinking, though, is that these are companies that are in trouble, right? These are companies that if they don't get an infusion of cash, they're otherwise good companies, but that if they don't get an infusion of cash, their financial position is poor. That's my initial thinking, right? But look who's up there. Apple Incorporated. That significant weighting on that index. Why? Why would you put Apple in there? Is Apple afraid they're not going out? Maybe you need to include some good ones so that other people will buy into it. I don't know. Just seems wrong to me. And my first thought when I saw that was maybe things are worse than we thought. This is either going to turn into the Federal Reserve are giving their buddies money, and the people are going to be super outraged about this, which either way, people are going to say that. But maybe that's the case. Or two, these companies are worse off than we realize. I thought it was interesting that the highest weighted one were auto companies, Toyota and Volkswagen. I was like, like those would certainly get hit hard. So this concerns me. I think we should continue to watch this. I don't know if the weighting changes, but yeah, I think we should watch this. See if they change it. See how those companies end up doing. It would be a big one. Is starting from now. Starting from, well, let's just say July. Let's just look at July performance in the future to see how well those companies do compared to the rest of the market. You say ES pullbacks to pre-London close. Well, we've got about 20 minutes to the European closes. It's a pretty good pullback, isn't it? I think 3017 is probably kind of like this downside area where if we're really going to pick up some stronger support that they might go to, but I'm not seeing it. I don't know. The problem that I have, I guess right now, is that okay, so the trade that I see is down and it's working. But then when I think about the VIX targets, I think those are too far. 3011 would be the 50% retracement. Yeah, well, I mean, if we go down there, I think that 3010 is a pretty good spot. The 30, what was it? 3012, I think, was where I was looking. That was like the based on risk reward. That's what we have to be going for. I shouldn't say have to, but that's kind of where we're looking to keep a good risk reward. But that's where I'm saying based off of volume, like they could totally. There's no reason that has to hold. They could totally go through it. But I'm kind of wondering if today just ends up being an inside day. Well, actually, I take that back. Because the overnight session was lower, it's already, you know that it won't be an inside day. But from a volatility perspective, it looks like it could end up being an inside day. Because I don't know if they're going to break a new low. Like, that's unlikely. We're kind of in a spot now where probability is that we kind of just churn and kind of end out equal. Now, we should remember that there were that news when the Florida numbers came out was around 18. So we would like to see them push below 18. Because there's going to be some positions there, and when they get through them, they're going to be upset. See, I'm feeling the sleepiness right now. Wow, the new normal in New York City, 11 people shot in under 12 hours, says Zero Hedge. This is getting kind of crazy over there with that. Ugh. Biden trying to make a big deal out of this video that Donald Trump tweeted the other day that I think is kind of a silly. Sorry to inform the do nothing Democrats, but I am getting very good internal polling numbers, just like the 2016. The New York Times polls are fake. The Fox News polls are a joke. Do you think they will apologize to me and their subscribers again when I win? People want law, order, and safety. So Donald Trump is saying that even though his public polling numbers have been hurting, and a lot of that seems to suggest that Donald Trump is not that voters are not reacting well to Donald Trump's reaction to the protests in particular, but also to the coronavirus numbers. They're losing some of the older voters over that. And he's saying that his polling shows that people want law and order. I wonder, that kind of sounds to me like reading the wrong thing into the data. And this is where we have a problem with the way that I want to trade, is that sometimes you can sit down and you can say, here's a fundamental case for why it should go down and do all of that analysis and still be just seeing what you want to see. So they're saying, well, people want law and order, yes. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to vote for you. Because I'm sure that plenty of people think that Joe Biden could do that effectively. I'd be really skeptical about any Democrat actually enforcing law and order right now because they haven't been. But I'm pretty sure that plenty of voters will think that Joe Biden can do that. Oh, is Berkshire Hathaway on that list too? What? Okay, so okay. There was a little bit of an up move back. There might be some news coming here that I'm not hearing. Mm. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that was my foot touching my new mat. Going fishing is beautiful. Hey, thank you for stopping by, John, and arguing with me. I always enjoy it. See if they can go. We're gonna just see here. I probably won't be able to stick around. Oh, that's the way that's moving is looking really good for our trade, guys. Our theoretical trade. No, they didn't. They didn't take. Again, it's 3018. Is kind of where that line in the sand. That I don't know if they'll pass it or not, but that's a spot where a lot of people will probably be upset. And I do think that there might be some news here. Laguard is speaking right now. Laguard, PEPP, essential to avoid increase in deflation risk. So Lagard speaking is a big risk for us at the moment. Oh my! Have you guys seen this? These do they can show the picture of it? Yeah, this couple were out in front of their house with their guns. The protesters had broken into a gated community. They engaged in a shouting match. People are entering into the gate. Yep, and then people started calling for the McCloskeys to be doxxed, resulting in at least one publication removing their address from a 2018 article detailing the renovations they performed on their mansion. Oh, they've got a mansion. Oh, wow. Look at that. That is amazing. Oh, look. Well, they've donated to both Democrats and Republicans, but more Democrats than Republicans. Well, more Democrats than Trump, at least. They also defended a man against police brutality. This is a dangerous situation, guys. You make people a meme like that, you're just asking for somebody to come in and do something crazy. Yeah, and people are trying to make memes about them. That's dangerous. This is not going to end well, guys. Yeah, this is not. It's not funny. Somebody's going to get hurt from that shit. Do we need to protect ourselves now that the police are being defunded? I think that you should always think about protecting yourself. I wouldn't leave it up to somebody else. Okay, so now they're coming up on the what do we call this? Average true range stop. Well, they may come through this and then, I mean, look, they're coming back. They're pretty close back to where we were. I think overall, if we were in this trade, that there's a couple, this last little bit of a move up might have to have us questioning whether it's really working or not. We could, of course, get more downside later in the day, but I think I would like to see that 18 pushed. But, it might take a long time for people to realize. And the other thing is, can't take a whole lot of risk with this one. So, okay. Oh my. Okay. So they failed to break through the average true range stop at that point. But we're getting a very, very churny market now. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk to Gary Norton here about this. I'm gonna type something here. Oh, there you go, back to 28. So I would have to say if we were going to take this as a trade, maybe you want to scratch it there at that point. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if the backdrop for this trade is really strong enough. Hmm. So what were we saying when it was on the upside? If what the stop was? Because I think we were looking at 25, and then we were saying, well, yeah, we were going to go to 40, so then we could risk 8, which would mean 17, which we didn't touch. Yeah. See, the risk reward setup on the long one make a lot more sense, doesn't it? I'm just not sure. Well, I don't know. This one's a tough one because, hey, the Federal Reserve is just continuing to support things as a pretty difficult fundamental basis to fight. You know what I mean? And especially since they created that yesterday's slowdown at the bottom, that's where I kind of get a little iffy because I think that we should touch the daily target, which would be up at like 30.45. But at the moment, it seems like that would require a really strong up move to happen, and I don't know if we're actually going to reach targets today. So, but at the same time, if I don't think that we're going to reach targets today, I'm not sure that I want to take a trade like that. In fact, I should be taking like a revert to the mean kind of a thing, which would mean something like, you know, oh, from 30.27 to 30.25 would have been just fine. I guess another issue though is that um, it would the thinking behind the trade was that we moved up off of the Florida coronavirus cases, but they don't really matter on Mondays. That was a strong initial reasoning. And the news happened at 3018. So for them to bounce off of 3018 now is definitely a like it didn't the trade didn't work. You're too early at least. So scratch it. Or maybe you could have, you know what, we could have taken 30.25. So we could have taken 2 points off of it. That would have been okay. I guess it wasn't a bad trade. But or it wouldn't have been a bad trade, but it ultimately didn't fulfill. Well, they're gonna make that high? They sure look like they're going for it. I wonder, do you think is just me, or the market just doesn't seem to have a lot of conviction today? But it does look very likely that they're going to break a new high. Get rid of that. Now, Bitcoin's still not doing too hot today. Does that really put the S&P 500 1.1% up today? Okay, well, a bit of a pullback there. Okay. Well, it's 9:31. I think it's time for me to get going, guys. Yeah, I know. So we had one kind of theoretical setup that I was kind of like had mixed feelings about, but that we still tracked, and it looks like that it kind of didn't turn out, and that you would have, scratched or taken it off early. Now it looks like they're moving up. I'm not sure that I see a really strong fundamental basis for that, but it's a Monday and everything, so I'm always a little more tepid on a Monday, anyways. Who knows though? Maybe they break this and they go right to that 30, 45. I have to say though that given the way that it's behaving right now, assuming that we don't just like fall apart again, like we have been, like maybe tomorrow we could fall apart, but I kind of have to question the VIX levels that we're having because this is not 33 type action, I don't know. I guess it should be down because we've been down. We've been down. We've been going down for quite some time now. Let's see if they make it there or not. If they don't make it, it's kind of a negative thing. I feel like I'm missing something, guys. Lewis, my Monday good is up 9K. I'm not taking any trades, so don't say sorry. I don't feel bad. I don't. That doesn't look to me like a read is a very good read to me today. Could maybe. I mean, you certainly could have bought yesterday's low. I should have been paying attention on that one because that looked like that had some pretty good order flow to support that one. But the issue with it is, again, like you got in at 39.92 and you're looking for 45. It's almost a 50-point swing. But I don't know if they're going to make it. It just seems a little, and like they were really hesitant to go up there for that new high. So I don't know what's going to happen. They might not hit either target today. Yeah. Anyways, I'm just blabbing. They're coming back now. But I should get going. I will see you guys tomorrow. I will get rid of this stupid no card in camera thing. And let's see what else. Everything's broken. Kind of sucks. Sunday driver, have a good day. Hey, you too. What should we call the stream? Let's call it another Monday bounce. That's what it was. It was a Monday bounce. Maybe if you have a better idea, you can put it in the comments of the video or something. But stay profitable, friends.